All right. Welcome back to the Price All Podcast. I'm super excited today to have Tom Reilly, president of VMI. Today, we're going to talk about a decent amount of backstory, but we're really going to talk a lot about what VMI is doing in the industry. Tom, thanks so much for joining us. I'm excited to get into things.
Thank you guys for having me, man. Exciting.
This is pretty cool because I was on your podcast a few years ago.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, you were.
And
That's right.
I got to learn a lot of things, but I mean, I don't know if all of our viewers get to watch that. So I'm excited to kind of get into where, how you got here, what you're doing. But give us background on you before you got to VMI. Where do you come from?
Yeah, so I've been in the business pretty much my entire career. And I think a lot of folks in the business probably know me, but I was in distribution for a long time before this. I started my career 20 years ago at GNC, as many of us did. Right. And so got the itch working at GNC in college and got into distribution after that. I worked for a company called UNFI, which is one of the largest natural food distributors in the business. And that's really where I kind of learned the basis of the business and the industry, even though it was more on the natural side. And then probably after a year and a half of being there, one of everyone's mutual friends and one of my best friends, Brian Icolina, actually introduced me to my now business partner, Frank Fenimore. And at that time, I pivoted from UNFI, which was more natural health food distribution, right, over to Lone Star distribution, which is more sports nutrition at the time. And that was a good run for me. I think that was really where I had the most fun. I learned a lot on the natural side at UNFI and how wholesale works and how grocery works, grocery versus independent specialty. So UNFI was a great learning experience and eye opener, but I think coming to Lone Star was more of like back to my roots, sports nutrition, protein pre-workout. And that was a fun run. I joined I'm sort of young, I'm growing in the industry, and I joined a growing company. And I still, to this day, think we had one of the best teams in the business. So Lone Star was a fun ride. I was there for a long time. And I did everything there from e-com to FDM accounts, food, drug, mass, to purchasing towards the end. And I dealt with all the vendors. So really good learning experience, right? Learned a lot of sides of the business. And I think you get a unique view, and we each have our own experiences, right? Whether in retail or wholesale or brand side. I think for me, it was unique to have started in retail and then worked in distribution. And then in distribution, you get to work with brands, but retailers too, right? You're in the middle. And so that wholesale distribution point of view was unique for me because I kind of got to work with retailers for a little while. And then I got to work with chain accounts for a little while. And then I got to work with brands for a little while. And I think you kind of learn a lot, right? When you have that sort of diverse, sort of skill set you have to learn. So it was a lot of fun, and I miss distribution in some ways. It's really razor thin margin, but you get to work with a lot of fun people and sell a lot of different things. So it's good variety.
I was going to ask, would you mind putting some dates to this? Because it seems like, to me, looking at this real quickly, timing has played a really good impact for you because distribution changed a lot right after you were getting out and everything.
Yeah,
and you started VMI with a bunch of people, as we'll learn, at a really good time too. So what years were you at Lone Star and then the exit?
Yeah, so I left UNFI and went to Lone Star, I'm going to say in the 2008, 2009. So somewhere in that range, somewhere between 08 and 09. And Lone Star was really coming into its own. At that point, it was really establishing itself as the number 2 national distributor in the country. My partner, Frank, and his dad had merged their business in the Northeast KCF distribution with Lone Star, which had some Southeast, Southwest warehouses, and they became a national distributor at that point. So it's about 2009. And so when I came on board there, it was a very specialty-driven business. And as you guys know, mom and pop stores and specialty business was where it was at. Amazon was in infancy, especially in our industry. And so store business and gym business was just huge. What I tried to bring to the table when I got there was the view of larger accounts, grocery, food, drug, mass, and things beyond specialty. And so I did that for a few years. I had a brief exit where I went to run an Amazon company in probably 2010, 2011. And that was really when Amazon was blowing up in general, but also with our space. And then I came back to Lone Star, probably 2011. And I went back to the purchasing side, which is a little more brand focused oriented. And I did that for probably 4 years. And that was probably some of the hardest, but most fun I had. I think I learned more than I thought I could have from brands. And a lot of it was learning what not to do because brands made a lot of mistakes. And especially at that time, the business was like on fast forward and people were trying to pump stuff out. Ingredients still weren't that well known yet, a lot less regulation, and no social media. So I think at that time, it was a good learning experience for me. But so when I came back to Lone Star about 11 to 2015 was really the big growth years for Lone Star. And in 2015 was when it sold to exited to an equity group. When it exited was an interesting period because as every company exits, a lot of transitionary stuff. We had actually formed VMI as an entity in 2012 as sort of a house brand for Lone Star. And we didn't actually launch product till 2013. And even when we launched it in 2013, it was more of just basic fill some category holes Lone Star didn't have a high margin house brand. Retailers do this all the time, right? And so for us, it was more of a gap filler. For me, it was a pet project. I was ambitious, but certainly I love ingredients. I love formulating products. I think Ben and I have connected on that in the past. It's just a passion of mine to kind of look at it from a user standpoint and also a seller and manufacturer standpoint. So it kind of was, I don't want to say sitting there running, but it was kind of a side project, right? And I think by 2014, 2015, Lone Star had been sort of on the cusp of this exit, and the deals take a long time, a lot of due diligence. And VMI started to get some steam, I would say. And it was a weird position because it was like a house brand that had no employees, right? So like that's how do you have a company that nobody's really doing anything? And so it was a very, it was fun, but it was also odd, right? We'd have people reach out to us and there was no face, it was just a brand, with a website. It was really weird. So we were like, you know what? This thing is got some legs. Maybe there's something to this. And I'm super passionate about it, but I'm not really sure where it's going to go. And I'm enjoying Lone Star and we're growing. But 2015 came, and when the exit happened, it was a big transition period. They wanted all of us to stay, all the owners of Lone Star, the executives, the directors, and they wanted to make it a positive thing. They were going to invest in the company and grow the company, but they really didn't want anyone to leave. They weren't restructuring per se. They did want to, sort of change CEOs, and my partner John Hoffman was going to kind of take a secondary role, but still stay on. But I think for me, it was more of, hey, I don't know that this is my passion, working for an equity group and kind of just figuring out how to churn out more profit and cut expenses. I saw a lot of that corporate stuff when I was at UNFI, and I didn't live for that. And so as 2015 kind of progressed, we went through the transition. We had to disclose our ownership in VMI. Those entities had to totally separate. And so I probably 6 months into the transition at Lone Star told the equity group, I appreciate it, but I kind of want to go run this company that's kind of got legs. And I wanted to do it in a professional way because Lone Star was our exclusive distributor. That was part of the deal when we made the brand. And so, as you guys know, when you have those exclusive partnerships, you got to be really careful, right? There's a lot of agreements in place. You don't want to lose the partnership. So you're sort of dancing on raindrops trying to do the right thing. And so the equity group did try to get me to stay. And I said, listen, I will stay on as a consultant for a little while for the transitionary period as a favor to them. But for me, I wanted to go do what I was passionate about. The crazy thing from a life perspective is my wife was pregnant. And she thought it was a terrible idea to go kind of run a startup, so to speak. And so I had never done that. But it was what I wanted to do. She supported it. And I think knowing that Lone Star was still there as our exclusive distributor, I felt like there was a little bit of backup I would have. And so, late 2015, I exited, stayed on as a consultant, went to run VMI full time. And it was a big learning curve for me. I think you go into things thinking you know everything. And I knew way less than I thought I did. I think I knew a lot of mistakes to avoid that I saw vendors make working with distributors, but you really don't know what you don't know. And I learned that the hard way, trying to get out into the market almost as essentially a startup, right? Because no one outside of Lone Star customers had ever heard of VMI. So it was an interesting start coming out of the gate, stumbled a little bit, trying to get my feet wet, still trying to help Lone Star and be in that transitionary period, which is like a weird place to be, right? Hey, I'm still doing this, but I own this brand. But I think there were some people that were super helpful at the beginning, but it was hard. And so I loved it. I'm glad I did it, but I think you kind of have to take the hard road to learn the hard way and kind of make those mistakes early. But that was the transitionary period, and really from 2015 to now. So we're about a decade in. And I think we did it the hard way. We bootstrapped it. And we've grown every single year, including COVID, which is weird. We've done a pretty good job about grinding. And I don't, there's a lot of brands that have come and gone. There's a lot of brands that have been more successful. I think for us, we've kind of done it the hard way, but we've grinded it out, and it's been fun. I think we learned a lot of hard lessons. But fast forward to today, and it's been an interesting 10-year journey. I can't believe it's been that long. I've been doing this longer than I was doing the other stuff, but. I love it, and I wouldn't do anything else. My wife asks me that all the time. What else would I do if VMI sold tomorrow? And We've actually had those conversations the last couple of years with some different equity people. I just don't think it's something we want to do. I think we just love what we do. Frank and I are owner operators. We're here every day. If you have a profitable business and you're feeding mouths and you love what you do, it's hard to walk away from that. So it's been fun, but yeah, those were the early years. And transitioning, I would just tell anybody that hasn't owned a business, it is as hard as you hear. But I certainly think transitioning from a side of the business, listen, just because you sell pizza sauce to pizzerias doesn't mean you can own a pizzeria. It's a lot harder than I thought it would be. And I thought I was a real bright young man and I knew stuff. It's just hard, man. It's just, like there's just unforeseen challenges because you don't run that side of the business.
That is such a great quote and like an analogy. Like, because I was just going to say that we know a lot of people that came from distribution, back in the day, Europa, all you guys used to be huge and basically any brick and mortar only purchased from you guys, right? Like you went into any store and you saw banners or fridges or like different promotional materials from you guys. And
there's coolers today that still say Lone Star in Europa. It's wild, man. I swear, I go into gyms. There's gyms in Florida. I go to see my old partner Hoffman, and there's a cooler that says Lone Star. And I'm like, man, that's 10 years ago.
Destination cool. Dallas I still has a Lone Star fridge. I always see when I go there. But like kids these days don't know what that is or what kind of impact that had because they buy from Amazon or TikTok. It's so interesting to talk to someone who like really lived through that era because you have a different perspective on things. You understand the volume that you can get to. You understand like a lot of dynamics that people who are coming in now making brands just don't have any. They don't have any experience with.
They just don't know. Yeah, it's hard if you don't have that. I think this is any industry, but if you don't have that historical knowledge, listen, technology is going to move forward no matter what. You're going to have new apps, AI, all that kind of stuff. If you don't have any historical background in the industry you're in, it's real hard to progress forward quickly without making mistakes. You can move fast, but you might not be moving correctly, and that's hard. So having that background was educational for me. We stumbled a lot, but it was very educational.
Yeah, I see a lot of people make mistakes on things like negotiating net terms with retailers or like promotional, spend.
Stand down allowances, trade spend, show commitments, off invoice discount commitments. There's stuff, and what's funny? You guys probably see it too, and I'm a big LinkedIn guy, and I know that LinkedIn you either love it or hate it, right? And I've been on there since LinkedIn was in its infancy, but you see guys all the time that have just gotten into CPG the last few years, any category, it doesn't have to be supplements, right? They're selling food or they're a broker, and they bash a retailer, they bash a distributor, they bash the process. And I'm kind of always on there saying, listen, entrepreneurs got to do better math. If you're a business owner, you have to learn, and if you don't know, have somebody teach you. But because you make mistakes and don't make money, that's not the distributor's fault. They're in business to make a profit. If you signed on to that deal, pay the deal. So it's just, you can't, I don't want to pay the piper. Don't do the deal. You can't have your cake and eat it too, or be a better negotiator. So, Ben, you're 100% right. I'm super lucky to have went through that and kind of I had a hard education early.
Well, a lot of people come into this industry because they're passionate about formulas and making the product that I would take is a really, we hear the story.
There's a lot of guys like that.
The pre-workout I wanted didn't exist, so I went out and made it myself, and that's why GNC should distribute me. Like we hear this once a week, but a lot of people when they get that call from that retailer, and then they're knee deep in contract negotiations and they don't understand distribution. That's where a lot of this game experience comes in. Not that the answers, but at least you're used to having these conversations.
There's an education. Yeah. I think if you kind of know the things, the mines to look out for along the way, and the cracks in the road to avoid, I think I learn stuff every day, and I think when you have that experience, it's helpful. But I think we learned it because we lived it, but we also asked a lot of questions because we saw. We didn't do that in distribution. Why does this distributor do that? But it's a learning curve. And I think what happens is guys get real wide-eyed about the formula or wide-eyed about a PO or a sale. And they're not really, oh man, this retailer is terrible because they hit me with this chargeback. It was in the contract. Did you not read it? So I feel like it's a hard thing to be real honest with people. But I don't want to say I had a unique advantage going through some of those things, but I do think it's irresponsible of people to blame a distributor or a retailer when they really didn't do the homework or the math. So for me, I like to say there's a little bit of balance to it. Listen, there's going to be distributors trying to take advantage of you. That's their job. There's going to be retailers trying to take advantage of you. That's their job. And I tell brands this all the time because I get brands that actually call me, and some guys we mutually know in the business, hey man, how do I deal with this manufacturer? I'm trying to get into liquids, or I want to, and my thing to them is listen to what you're telling me. You're trying to beat that manufacturer up for a better price, better terms, better this, better that, drop ship for me for free. But that's what the retailer and the manufacturer, I mean, the retailer and the distributor are doing to you. So that whole supply chain goes all the way, and I'm sure the manufacturers are trying to do it to the ingredient suppliers, right? So like it happens it goes both ways. There's a little bit of balance there, but I think a lot of guys that get into, especially our side, right? Sports, it's a little different on the natural side, right? But like on the sports side, it's like I made a formula, it's got everything in it, it's over-engineered, and maybe you and I would take it, but like, what's the math there? Like, how much profit are you making? Do you actually know your cost of goods after all the things that go into it, not just raw cost of goods on the product? What's the ceiling cap for retail to be able to sell that, right? No one's gonna buy an $89.99 pre-workout every day, right? So there's retail ceilings. There's things that matter that I think people could learn if they really tried, and maybe they don't know the questions to ask. I mean, and that's why you guys are a great resource too, and listening to you guys. But I get calls like that sometimes, and I try to have really hard conversations where I'm like, listen, this is what it is. You have to make a little bit of sense here. And so I try to be helpful as much as I can, but we went through a lot of that stuff, and I feel like there's a lot of guys trying to jump into our ship and try and do it. It's like I always look at it, I'm like, gosh, man, nobody told them, like. So I try to help where I can, but it's a hard business, man. You have a lot of guys that are real passionate, and they either throw $1 million at marketing or $1 million in an over-engineered product. Nobody did the math. Where will we be at in 6 months after these fees, deduction, shipment, payroll, and then then you see companies kind of fold or have a challenge, and it's like you hate to see that. I'm not trying to hold anybody down, but it seems like some of that's probably preventable if they did better homework.
There was an interesting phase a few years ago when Ecovision on TikTok started releasing their contract manufacturing pricing for how much pre-workout really costs to produce. And there was this big phenomenon of people asking, well, if pre-workout costs $8, why am I spending $40 on it at GNC?
Sure.
And it was like I was doing mental backflips to help these people understand that just because the manufacturer produces this bottle at $8, that means that then all of a sudden an 18-wheeler needs to pick up 50,000 of those and deliver them to 3,000 stores across America, and then 80,000 employees
make
have to sell
50,000 labels, make 50,000 neckbands, ship those labels and neckbands, then the inbound shipping to get it from the manufacturer, then the outbound shipping to ship it to the. Got to have a scanning system, got to scan the. Like, there's a lot of stuff, and I think this applies to any product really. But like, the reality is, an iPhone does not cost $1,500 to make, but there's a lot of things in that supply chain, and people don't realize that. So that's a weird thing. I feel like in our business, there's stuff like that where someone puts out a price and creates like a big marketing confusion.
Well, it becomes this appeal to authority, or like it becomes this like moral dilemma where people think that supplement companies are ripping off people because there's a markup, but they have no earthly idea of like the cost of doing business.
Yes.
And that's without even like any sort of quality practices or testing, which is like a whole nother like lever that most people don't pull.
100%.
Yeah. And so we're at an interesting point with consumers where they're decently educated now. Like
more educated than ever before. Yeah. And partly in thanks to you guys.
Thank you.
And the internet, Google and ChatGPT. But no, listen, and I've said this to guys like Bucky from Fitness Performance too. I think you guys do a great job. And in the attempt, and I'm going to say attempt because I think some people don't always pick up on everything you're laying out, just be honest. Sometimes you're ahead of the curve that the consumer may be at. I think people in our business may get it, but you guys do a great job educating people. But the reality is, look, 10 years ago, nobody knew. 5 years ago, much better. Today, better than it's ever been. And even where it's at today, there's still people that kind of don't, So I think we'll never really hit that critical mass stage, at least not for a while, because it's almost the rate at which there are new customers trying to consume our products and get into our space is outpacing the speed at which you can educate them. Yeah. So it's great that the consumers are more educated than ever before, but it's also great that there's just so many new customers. I mean, think about how many women are taking creatine now that never took a supplement in their life. So the industry has evolved quickly, for sure.
Yeah, awesome. It sounds like you have taken to being a good mentor for certain people, which I think is really awesome. So cool.
I do try. Not everybody. I do try.
Try. Now everyone's be emailing you. Sorry. Yeah. But it's great because you have learned a lot, and you don't want to give away all your special sauce, but you also don't want to see people go through pain that isn't necessary. So I think that's what the good guys got to do, and we kind of that's why we like working with you. It's building a network of the good guys, really. So honestly, I had no clue about the story of VMI. In fact, stuff we wrote 10 years ago is probably wrong because I thought that you I had exited from Lone Star and then you started it. I had no clue.
No, we started it before. Yeah.
That's
We
cool.
started it before, and it was like a side project. And I can't believe it morphed into this, but
Yeah.
I'll give you 30 seconds of backstory. When I was at Lone Star, probably a couple years into coming back, and I'll say a year. So if we officially made it an entity in 2012, in 2011, I said, "Hey guys," the owners of Lone Star having their owners meeting. I said, "Guys, can you call me as a group? I'd love to just give you some feedback and input." And I told them at that time, "Guys, I have this passion, this entrepreneurial spirit, and I just love supplements. I'm in this business because I love it. I just kind of want to make stuff. I don't know why. I just got a hankering to do it." And that's really where it came from. I said, "I'm not looking to leave Lone Star, but I'm looking to do something. And if that's not a good fit for you guys, I got to figure out what I'm going to do." And they actually were great about it. And they're still some of my best friends. Frank's still my business partner, and John and Chuck. But they were so great about it because they understood. Listen, I think they felt like I was an asset at Lone Star and a good employee, a good teammate. I was director of purchasing at that time. I think they said, "Hey, listen, this will be good for Lone Star because we'll have a house brand, but this will be good for Tom because it gives him his entrepreneurial scratch that itch." And so I'm so grateful to them for having let me pursue that opportunity in really a setting that I think a lot of people don't get that opportunity. Most people have to just go start from zero. And while I feel like I started from zero, the reality is I had some help early on. I had a little bit of a launch pad. We stumbled after the sale of Lone Star, but I think I had a little bit of a launch pad that I'm super grateful for. And although we didn't take it real far, I was lucky to have that. So
definitely. And for the sake of the listeners out there, what does VMI stand for?
You know what? I get that a lot. Vision meets innovation.
Yes.
I give you 30 seconds on that too. It's funny, man. Every brand's got their own stake. Every entrepreneur's got their own passion. I get it. And I feel like for us, it's weird because it sounds like a quirky kind of thing. Vision meets it. Well, whose vision? What is it? But my vision was to innovate in a way that was different than the traditional interpretation of innovation in our space. And I always felt like since I was 20 years old, taking muscle tech products, oh, this new African herb, or there was always some random mythological. To me, I always felt like I had the wherewithal to make products that were really well-rounded, well-formulated, with a purpose. Not that it had to have an ingredient from Guyana that no one had ever heard of. While that is cool, and I love interesting ingredients, I really do. I had 3 ingredient conversations in the last 24 hours with stuff we've never used, and one of them I don't think is even in our space. I love that stuff, but I do think when we try to do it, of course I want to have a business, I want to sell product, but I want to make stuff that's really good. And Tim Gritzman from Natural Body and I used to have this kind of back and forth funny thing that we would look at it. Listen, your grandmother has the perfect homemade sauce. You don't always know what's in the recipe, but it's well balanced, right? Everyone loves grandma's Sunday sauce. And it's not because she had an herb from another country. She just had a well balanced. It's got a little bit of garlic. It's got a little bit of tomato. To me, that is how I pursued it. I want to innovate in a way that would be cool, fun, taste good, hit on the stuff that a customer would go, not only did I have a great workout, I'd like to consume that again. And that's what your great restaurants in the world are. It's not the most expensive steak you've ever had with the gold foil wrapped on it. It is specifically very, very well-rounded stuff. And for us, that has been the key, is having stuff that is a unique and well-rounded formulas. So I feel good about that process.
Right.
So
I was going to say, that brings me to those earlier formulas. I honestly still remember the original KXR formula, which I don't even know if you've changed much at all or whatever, but I still remember our earlier review, the Miami Vice flavor. That was that was a memorable moment.
Furman is watching this. Scott Furman's the CEO of Formula Life, and I think we would probably, but one thing we may still agree to disagree. He is super successful. They're one of the biggest manufacturers in the business. Mm-hmm. And I think him and I probably both think we invented Miami Vice. He's probably right. But I think we were one of the first brands to have it. And the reason for that is my wife and I had went on our honeymoon, and we were gracious enough to have been lucky enough, I should say. Our honeymoon was actually at the expense of the owners of Phenoflex, Redefined Nutrition. One of our best friends, Key Young, actually let us stay at his place in Mexico. Otherwise, we couldn't afford a honeymoon.
Oh, no way. Awesome.
And so a point of that is, when we were on vacation in Cabo, we had Miami Vice drinks, which was an alcoholic drink, strawberry, pina colada, pineapple. And we had never had it. We don't really drink alcohol. And so when I came back, I was like, we got to make this flavor. It's unbelievable, And so I think we were one of the first people to have Miami Vice as a flavor. And I think that was at the early stages of unique flavors. I think at that time there was there's a lot of fruit punch, blue raz, orange. These were your staples. And then you had a few weird things outside. Cherry lime was like weird still at the time. Today we look at that and we're like, oh my God, right? So,
yeah.
You know what's funny? I do have it here. How funny.
Nice.
So this is KXR original, and we just today I should say yesterday, but today launched them. Yesterday we got these in. And these are our KXR original. So this is our High-Stim powder. This formula has been really minutely tweaked over the years. We've just got a base of customers that love it. We sell a lot of it. It's our High-Stim. And listen, I think it's a well-rounded formula. It's not your high-performance 6 grams of citrulline. It's fully loaded with beta-alanine. It's got some theobromine. It's got 3 different types of caffeine. It's got yohimbe. This is a high-energy, light your hair on fire formula. And I always said to people, listen, I think this is the most compliant and best formulas for high energy and endurance and focus, because I think for years when we first launched it, and what you're referencing back then, there was people trying to DMAA and DMHA and all these. We never messed with any of that stuff. The one thing we always said is we're just going to make legit stuff. We're just going to be compliant no matter what. And if that doesn't mean we don't sell as much, I can sleep at night and also not get in trouble later. And so we actually just, with our PEZ collaboration, we just launched OG-KXR, which again, almost entirely same formula. We sell a ton of it. We sell it in grocery. We sell it on Amazon. It's a good SKU for us. But we just did PEZ flavors in that. It was like our original SKU, and it was the last item to get PEZ flavor. It's kind of weird. But,
that's awesome. Yeah, I was going to say, for the people that are listening, audio feeds, you're holding up the PEZ flavors. So I want to get into the PEZ PEZ stuff. The KXR, to me, when I see it at a grocery store, and you've been posting at grocery stores for a while, I'm like, oh boy, that's a strong pre-workout for a grocery. Like, I don't know. I remember
what's interesting?
You got smacked by that thing.
Yeah, it is high. It is strong. I always tell people a couple things. One, as a item, it's got 3 different caffeines, and so sort of 3 different, I would say, onset of release, right? So caffeine citrate is a little more immediate, citric acid, and hydrous, a little bit more moderate, and then we have Infinergy, right? Dicaffeine malate, so a little bit more delayed. And so for me, that sort of process kind of takes a little bit of the edge off. It does have yohimbe, so it'll hit you pretty hard if you're not tolerant of it. We did get it in a grocery, and it actually does pretty well in the groceries. We have it. Over the years, we have migrated to also having the sport option, which is the lower caffeine without yohimbe. And in some cases, that SKU does do better. In some cases, the original does better. What I think, and you guys may not know this, my family actually comes from the grocery business. My dad was in the grocery business for 40 years, and my grandfather was in the grocery business for a little while. I love the grocery business. I can remember being 10 years old and stacking shelves in a grocery store for my dad. And so for me, I just know that business so well that we wanted to be in it, because we saw, especially after Lone Star merged with Europa and sort of the collapse of distribution, the internet sales, D2C, what we saw was these alternative channels. People were shopping there for supplements that were supplement users. Whereas the 3 of us may look at it and say, yeah, 15, 20 years ago, my mom would buy the Nutriment shakes or something, right? That's not the grocery store today. And I spend a lot of time in these chains that we sell to. I'll go there and I'll spend an hour or 2 in an aisle at a store, and I'll do 5 of those in a day on a trip just to sit in the aisle and see. I'll just sit there. It's kind of wild. And you talk to the people that work there, you build relationships. And what you learn is these people are fitness shoppers. This to me would be, I shop at, whatever specialty store, but you know what? I can get a lot of the same stuff here. And so there's a lot of crossover. People don't realize there's people that have migrated where they shop. The same as you'd have an independent store say, oh, I lost my business to Amazon. You might have lost it to the grocery store. You might have lost it to Walmart.com. There's a lot of avenues, right? But the grocery customer's already buying hundreds of CPG items regularly. This is just another category for that. But us being in the business, we never foresaw that, right? But like energy drinks, that was a C-store item. It's in every grocery store. Probably sell more in a grocery store than you do at a C-store now, depending on which C-store. But 20 years ago, you wouldn't have said that. So I think there's a little bit of a change in the market and how people shop. And so we've just been lucky to be real successful in that channel. Yeah, it does seem like a super high energy formula for a grocery chain, but we sell a good bit of it there.
Good.
So we've been lucky.
Yeah. Light them up.
Yeah.
It's exciting. I remember years ago going into Walmart or FDM was like a 4-letter word in the industry that people kind of like looked down on brands that did that. And I think that was a little bit kind of because of restrictive pricing that they had at the time. They were catching up to us in terms of what our margins really are in this industry. Yes. But it's cool to see everyone growing. I mean, we have pretty full shelves at Walmart, Target, some plenty
And
of
brands,
resources. Yeah.
yeah, totally agree. And listen, the brands today, I think, have made the accommodations. You do a smaller serving size, maybe you do a lighter formula. There's some accommodations you need to make that make sense for the business and the customer base shopping there. But yeah, it's great to see that. I think it shows us the evolution, shows me anyway, the evolution of the business and the evolution of entryway of customers, right? There's people that may be buying a pre-workout at Walmart for the first time,
Yeah.
So I love it. I just love seeing the business and the industry grow. It's good for all of us if we're doing the right thing, progressing forward, making good stuff. It just creates a lot of opportunity.
So what are you
So
doing to win in grocery? Like what does that look like to you?
you know what? Again, because I think I have a little bit of a handle on it, and we're blessed to have some great relationships in that channel. I think what we try and do in grocery is really what we do in all channels. We just happen to have a lot of success in grocery, is understanding how does the customer shop, what does the customer look for, why are they looking for it in that channel, and that takes time in the retailer, right? So like, if we're shopping at Walmart, price is more important than anything, right? Walmart will tell you that, and so that's where you get the smaller serving sizes and things like that. We don't really play in that game. We're not really. I don't think we've graduated to a Walmart, Target kind of business, and I don't know that we want that kind of business today, where we're at as a brand in our life cycle. But in the grocery, I think we're very strong, especially in regional grocery, and we understand things that matter to retail: packaging, call outs, color, flavor, things that are beyond just price. Listen, if they're at the store and they're going to go into the supplement aisle, which by the way, at most grocery chains used to be 4 to 6 feet, now it's an aisle, right? So you have to have something that is going to stand out. They've got to either recognize your name, the flavor collab, the color's got to stand out. There's things that matter. The size of the package, is it appropriate for the category? I think what happens is you have a lot of brands that don't know the right questions to ask. And especially, listen, D2C brands that are marketing oriented, and they try to focus on D2C. They get in the grocery, no idea what they're doing. And sad to see, but they get in there thinking, oh, my real clean D2C brand is going to, I sell it, I kill it D2C and on whatever e-com channel. That's going to translate to retail. It doesn't work like that. I don't care what anybody says. A, it's not always the same customer. No, I'm just telling you from this experience. And I'll have retail buyers call me that I have relationships with and say, this brand, they came in, it's not selling. These are the challenges. They're asking my opinion because I come from the grocery business, but also because we have figured out what makes it turn. And so it's a combination of those things that I think brands just don't know, right? I'm excited. I got a formula. I got a package. I sold a bunch of units on my website last month. I'm ready for retail. Let me go into this grocery chain. You can run all the Facebook ads you want. If the retail buyer doesn't know it and it doesn't stand out on a shelf, if it gets lost, if the flavor name's not loud, if it's not something they recognize, they're just not going to buy it. Retail's very different, right? And so, especially grocery retail. So it's not destination, it's ancillary purchase. So then you have to really stand out, right? Like if someone's going to a GNC or vitamin shop, they're going there for that. That doesn't work like that in grocery. They're going to go into that aisle. I'm grabbing a quick protein, maybe a pre-workout, some beef jerky, whatever. So understanding that you have to stand out beyond just what's the price, that's the key. And I think a lot of people just aren't aware of that from a brand perspective. We've been real lucky to make a lot of good decisions over the years and gotten a lot of good feedback that's allowed us to really stand out on a shelf, be in the right category with the right flavor, with the right packaging. And, now with the PEZ Collab with a really cool flavor assortment. So we've been real lucky there, but it's very educational. You have to kind of know what you're doing. Retail is not e-com. It's very different than D2C. Packaging means a lot.
I was going to bring up your packaging. I was looking at old KXR packaging.
Oh, it's bad.
Well, no, it's not. I mean, not necessarily bad, but like you came from distribution where like this was kind of the theme. A lot of stuff, it's more hardcore. It's more sports nutrition focused.
Yeah.
Your PEZ collab, I mean, that my mom would buy that. They're cool pastel colors, like the rays. Like it's much more approachable. It still kicks you in the pants, but like just packaging wise, I feel like people are going to gravitate towards that as opposed to like feeling prickliness from sports nutrition packaging.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, there was a divide we had to make when we said, listen, we had some success in specialty. We learned a lot from Lone Star, but as we pivoted, and a lot of this was post-COVID, but as we pivoted and kind of grew and we got into larger chains, grocery chains, sporting good chains, we said we have to update to accommodate. And so I used to say that a lot to our team, like whether it's packaging, neck bands, colors, flavor, we have to update to accommodate the retailer we're in. And it's just not, we're not going to see the velocity because we're not going to have the customer's affection if we're not speaking to them on the shelf.
Sure.
And so that we've made a lot of progress. And I will say in the last year and a half, probably more progress than ever before, thanks to Dre, who you guys know. Probably one of the best guys we've ever worked with. He is so talented, but he's really been able to bring together fun colors, fun fonts, but also cool call outs. He's messaging what the product does. That's a hard thing to do because we're not really like a mainstream force factor, right? We're not, I don't want to say generic, they're a great company, but we have specialty SKUs that have specialty formulas, but we're also fun and inviting. And I think that's a bridge you got to kind of really teeter on and make sure you're on the right path. And so we've been super lucky to kind of walk that fine line.
Yeah, the bottles look incredible. Dre does a great job because and this is your expertise, but like just because an image looks great on a D2C website or Amazon does not mean that label is going to look good on the grocery shelf. And so it's got to pop. I would like you to take us through the PEZ collab and how it started, how you got it, and then you've been expanding. So it looks like it's been successful and everything. I'm looking at a PEZ Sours even for KXR Sport right now on my browser here. So kind of take us through how that all went down. And if that was meant for grocery as well.
Yeah, I think it was. I'll tell you what, the collab thing, I tell people all the time, we were probably late to it, but when we looked at it, we said, okay, we're still getting a lot of foundational business stuff in place. We're growing in some accounts. We had good success with our existing stuff. We did not want to go out and just find anything we could get our hands on. And I think one thing Frank and I can understand is, especially coming from distribution, and then you take a company from zero to exit, is when to be patient and when to be fast. What we did was we hired an agency where we knew the person that runs the agency, and we said, okay, we're going to have a licensing agency help us find the right fit. Because we can go contact brands directly, but two things happen. You don't know what their terms are going to be and how it operates on a licensing deal. We've never done it before. Number two is you take up a lot of time to find the right brand. You probably need someone with the contacts. And so we hired an agency. We took over I'm going to say north of 40 or 50 licenses. And we just were real patient. We would evaluate. We would talk to retailers. We would talk to our team. We would talk to ambassadors. We would really walk through, okay, this could be a good opportunity for these 5 reasons, but what are the things we don't feel good about? Can we overcome them? And it got to a point where we said, okay, well, we don't want to just pass on everything because we have a bunch of no's, but we've got to be in a situation where we feel like we can take something out of the gate, move fast, get placement, but we know we can expand it. And so when PEZ became an opportunity, when Glaxon fell out, we said, okay, hey, listen, here's a brand that we like for multiple reasons. 1, they've been in our space. It already had traction. Number 2, they've got multiple flavors. I can lean into that because I have so many products. Number 3, they're going to be looking for a brand that's further along, more reliable. If they're going to stay in our space, they've got to be in a better situation than they were. That wasn't a good situation, right? So we said, okay, hey, this might be a great fit for them and us. And so when we approached it, we told them, listen, we actually don't have any licenses right now. And I said, let me tell you why that's a good thing. I'm going to lean into this. I'm going to go heavy. I'm going to go wide, not just vertical. And so I think they like that approach because the reality is if you only have one, you're going to focus on it. Number 2, there's 30 PEZ flavors. I got 100 SKUs. I can go real. So for us, every couple of months, now we're going to do carnitine. Okay, now we're going to do KXR stack. And so as we expanded that, I think we said, listen, we're not going to do the same cherry, orange, grape in every single product. We'll do sour pineapple here. We'll do sour blue raspberry here. But we went so wide with it that once you get a customer on a product that like, oh, the PEZ sour blue ras was fantastic. Well, now they want to try the sour pineapple. That's a product they've never used before. So now I'm migrating customers to additional products, right? So I'm enhancing my category assortment with our existing customer base, retail and end consumer. That's good for me and PEZ, right? So I'm creating notoriety for them, but I'm also expanding my assortment just in my regular core business. So I think for us, we got real lucky with that one because the partnership was good. They were real transparent. We were real transparent. And we went real heavy with it. And we've looked at a lot of licenses since. We actually have 2 on the table right now that we're hoping to close in Q1. We'll see which one comes first. And exciting and a little different. But yeah, PEZ for us was a real unique one because I think people were like, oh, Glaxon had it. Well, people know it. And then when we showed what we would do with the labels, we made mock-ups. We drafted labels for months before we actually launched product. And I think people were so impressed, PEZ was too, people were so impressed at the time and effort that Dre and the team put into it. And it was really our best foot forward. And I think you learn as a brand, listen, put the best product on the table. And we didn't always do that, right? Sometimes our label wasn't perfect. Manufacturer did a run with an upside down neckband. Stuff happens. We really took our time, and Simpson has been the best possible partner we could have. I love those guys. And we run a majority of our stuff there, but they really helped us get the PEZ stuff out, quickly, but correctly. And so it was probably the biggest single business partnership decision we've made in 10 years, because we were on a really good track. PEZ sort of catapulted that track we were on. And I think we're lucky enough today to have a lot of other licensed brands look at us and be willing to talk to us because of the success we've had with PEZ. We made these custom intro kits, which obviously is a big thing now. I feel like we were doing that for anybody. But when you send these presentations out, presentation is everything. Look at the job you guys do with the podcast, right? That presentation is everything with a product. And so we take that PEZ presentation and I send it to companies we're talking about doing licenses with. And I don't want to say they're wowed, but I think we put our best foot forward. And so it's given us some other opportunities that are on the table that we probably would not have had 2 years ago. So we couldn't ask for a better initial collab license agreement deal. We've been super lucky, and it's been a lot of fun. Honestly, I think it's fun. The colors are cool. The flavors are cool. And it does appeal to grocery, right? Because PEZ is sort of a gimmicky thing that's sold in grocery, and that's a big piece of our business. And Amazon too, actually.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for explaining all that. That was awesome. Out of all the PEZ products, is there an underdog that you feel like more people need to try or anything like that?
I'll be totally honest. I think the absolute, and I don't want to say underdog because it's actually had great success, especially in our GNC franchise business. GNC franchise has just been some of the best specialty partners we've ever had. They're just unbelievable retailers, so owner-operators. But GNC franchise is doing fantastic with our pump and flow. And we have 2 flavors of PEZ in that. And that was one of our fastest growing SKUs last year. But I'm trying, I guess this is the passion in me, is I'm trying to just get that out to more people in the sense of it's such a great product. And most liquids are really hard to flavor. These kind of pre-workout liquids, carnitine liquids, things like that.
Yeah, this is right? To interrupt. This is a glycerol liquid for those listening. Oh, that's what you're holding right here.
If you're watching the video, this is the product, right? The interesting thing is when we got into glycerol liquids, for those listening that can't see it, we also kind of, again, the vision meets innovation. It was always trying to have like a little bit of a different approach and figure out what kind of is our unique standpoint, right? And unlike a lot of the glycerol liquids in the space, not just did we put a collab on it, but we said, hey, let's make this a stim-free pre-workout. It's a category we're not in that we get asked for a lot. We're already going to get into glycerol. Let's sort of hybrid that and say, okay, we're going to have a glycerol liquid, but we're going to make it sort of stim-free pre-workout. So you can take a half a cap by itself. Half a cap with your pre-workout. We take a full cap by itself if you're training late at night. That category for us is, I almost fought it for a while. And Dre was like, we got to make it. GNC was asking us for it. And it's just been unbelievable. So for me, that's one that if there's like a sleeper in the general market that I'm like, people need to take this. It's just a fantastic product. It's just, and actually, I will say, I'll plug my friends over at Concrete. We actually use their citrulline hydrochloride, Hydronox, and we were the first people to use Hydronox in a liquid. So citrulline hydrochloride. So real proud of that. So for me, it goes back to that innovation part. I really feel like we do things that I'm passionate that are innovating. And Dre will hear me say a lot, Dre, we're never going to get credit because we're not out there asking for it. That's not our MO. But I am real proud of the stuff we do. So when we make a product it's not just a glycerol liquid, it's a glycerol liquid pre-workout. It's not just a glycerol liquid pre-workout, but it's got pre-workout ingredients. Oh, also we're using an ingredient liquid no one's used. To me, I'm like, you know what? We put something really special together that works and is different than the rest of the market. So that would be my sort of underdog that I'm like championing out there. But if you're asking.
I gotcha. Yeah, I know. I love it because when I looked at the label, obviously glycerol's right up front with the biggest dose, but then I noticed the Hydronox right away. I said, oh, cool. Because, we've had a couple conversations with them and it's a pretty cool ingredient. That brings me to... Yeah. In fact, however, you don't get enough credit for some of the innovation. We wrote about this.
I do
about Protolyte.
That's okay.
You were doing hydration. You were putting advanced and like high quality minerals in a protein powder when no one even thought about about doing that. You were ahead of the hydration curve even before the hydration people, but you did it in the protein. And what I think is super awesome, and I didn't know this at the time when I originally reviewed that stuff, is when you have a pure whey protein isolate like you do with Protolyte, you lose a lot of the calcium. And you ended up putting some of the calcium back, giving people the benefits that a lot of people would want with a whey protein, but in isolate form, but also with high quality calcium as well as the other minerals. So you were ahead of the curve. You did the Albion stuff before anyone was talking about that.
I don't think we knew how to market the things that we were doing differently. And I'll say differently. I'm never going to say better or best. And right, we all talk about that. It's just different point of attack. And I feel like I could say, yeah, we baked the perfect cake. Listen, I think everyone has a unique formulation perspective. And Ben and I might formulate differently, but I think we'll probably have the same goal. What product we would take that's really good. But for me, I think you try to have a level of humility in the business, and you want to be around for a long time. You want to have good relationships. I always felt like it's not about me. And I told Spencer this when we talked about the hydration and the trace minerals and the Protolyte. He almost was like, oh my God, I didn't know that. I think a lot of people have that reaction. For me, it was about the brand not getting the recognition. And I feel like for a long time, we didn't want to be out there. We were just never those guys to kind of yell me from the treetops. But the brand, I think, should get the recognition because it's always been, we've had different teammates over the years and different manufacturers, but it's been a group effort to put a lot of these things together. And I just want the brand to get the recognition for delivering stuff to the customer that is unique, different, and effective. I'm not going to say better or whatever, but I just want the brand to get the credit that it's due because I think a lot of the stuff we put together does deliver a good experience. And I, for better or worse, we were putting digestive enzymes from Digestive in Protolyte before anyone was using it. I don't care what anybody says. I got the receipts. And so for me, the same thing with the Trax Albion minerals. I remember when I called Rick Harnish at Albion, and he's like, "You're going to do what?" He's a great guy, still in the business, but I don't necessarily people say, "Oh, Tom's a great formulator." Yeah, that sounds fantastic. For me, it's about the brand, though. I want people to recognize VMI. Man, they make really good stuff, and stuff you can enjoy, stuff you can stand behind, stuff that's effective. And that's a hard bridge to cross, right? Because we started as a specialty brand, but we never used the shady ingredients. We migrated and grew into a brand that's in larger chains now, so people just assume you make weaker, softer, watered down stuff. We don't do that. And so to me, I just want the brand to get its props, if that makes any sense. And so that's kind of my mission this year is for our team internally to feel like, hey guys, you're busting ass. I want you guys to get credit for being a part of that journey and feeling like what you're championing every day on social or Dre with the labels is getting the credit it deserves, right? And so that's kind of my mission this year is to for the team to feel that way.
That's wild because let's say you kind of position yourself as a scientific brand in 2017, you got Protolyte, you go all science and everything. It seems
I probably
like
should have.
No. So you're gonna like this, but like the brands that do that kind of like they hit a wall or whatever. And instead, what you did was you went with a really, really attractive approach, worked on distribution and everything, and like incredible branding. But you had formulas to back it up, and they were compliant, and all that stuff. But didn't maybe talk about the science as much. But that enabled you to have really cool stuff like PEZ without having to like rely just on scientific claims or anything. And the brand who does this really well is none other than Ghost. You've been kind of doing the same thing.
Ghost,
Yeah, listen, you guys are both crushing it. It's like
I'll say that Ghost is on another level. I'll say this: I love Ghost products, branding, and I think we all do. And I would say the two brands that I look up to in that regard is Ghost and C4 and Cellucor. And Das, the founder and CEO of Cellucor, I almost say almost a mentor. He's still friends with Frank and I. We talked to him a couple of years ago. We congratulated him on his sale to Dr. Pepper Keurig. I think when you have guys like that, and the Ghost guys and Dan, I think when those guys lead from that perspective, it makes you want to step up and do a better job. And I think the one thing that I always held on to, and I think I thought about saying this to you guys when we were going to talk. I thought about this yesterday. Is for me, kind of take the credit off the table for a second. The one thing I always tell people is the one thing we really struggled with was branding and marketing. And I think the C4s and the Ghosts of the world nailed it. But they also had products to back it up. Some of the best formulas. And I tell people all the time, like, oh, you'll hear people say in the industry, oh, they sold and the products might not be the same, or oh, they're just an energy drink company.
And I'll tell you this right now, C4 and Ghost are some of the best products on the market. There's no doubt. And I would consume them. I'm drinking a C4 right now. I think they back up their branding and marketing with quality, right? And I think we try to do that. We're trying to emulate the positive things that they do. And what I tell people from VMI's perspective is we really sucked at acquisition for a long time on every level. And it's because we didn't have the right branding and marketing. I'll tell you what we did have, retention. Why? The product was always great. I did not release crap. I won't make a bad formula. I won't release a batch that doesn't taste good, et cetera, et cetera. And I never have. I don't think there's a single person that could say, man, I took a VMI product and it sucked. Maybe it wasn't the right product for you, maybe whatever the case may be, but taste, quality, what it said it was going to be is in there. And so for me, Protolyte was always the emulation of that because our labels and our marketing were never great for Protolyte. I mean, it was weak. We were one of the first brands doing inclusions. We were one of the first brands to use Digestive. We were doing marshmallow inclusions before almost anybody. It was probably 2018, 2019, maybe further back. So I remember it being like a novelty thing. And there were some brands doing some things, but I think we really pushed the envelope on that because we had, I want to say 5 or 6 inclusion flavors by the time COVID rolled around. Nobody had that many. And so we try to push the envelope in these different ways, but to me, it was always retention. If I can get someone to try it, the inside the bottle is so good, they'll buy it again. Our problem was always acquisition. And what we've really come to the last couple of years is finally catching up and trying to really be our best foot forward on the packaging, the branding, and the social. And that's finally caught up, and that we're super lucky, but we're just the right players, the right timing. But I was always proud of what was inside the bottle. And that was, for me, acquisition was real hard. It was a grind. Retention was never a grind. So people are like, oh, how do you sell so well in grocery? Well, we finally figured out how to have the right packaging, but if they bought it once, they'll buy it again. I don't even worry about that. And our website retention is indicative of that. It's very high. It's above industry average by double-digit percentage. So I'm super proud of that stuff. And I always say that internally, inside the bottle is really what made us because we were real proud to say, hey, the quality, the flavor, the taste is, you can't say a bad thing about what's in the bottle. I don't care who you are. And so I'm proud of that, right? And that's really what I think was the legs we stood on for a long time. And we've grown up, but yeah, I certainly hope we can emulate the success and the success that Ghost and C4 have had.
I think that one of the things that a lot of people don't recognize, and we were kind of earlier on talking about having the experience and knowledge to know, what you want to do and how you want to do it. And one of the things you mentioned on early in this podcast is that you're not really super interested in selling your company. And sometimes to take like that road of like that mainstream success, like you need a lot more capital. And I feel like you guys seem to really enjoy what you're doing, and that decision to not just sell out to private equity. It doesn't solidify you in any pathway. You can do whatever you want, but it allows you to make your own decisions and allows you to like play within this sports nutrition category and do what you want. So it's kind of interesting. I kind of wanted to come back to that. Like you seem like you've had a great resolve to, you want to run your own company. You want to own your own company. You want to enjoy that.
You know what? Everyone wants to retire at some point and enjoy things. And I'm sure that time, I hope that time comes, but I think for us, we put such a grind in early on. It seems like almost giving up to exit at any level before I'm done. And I don't think Frank and I feel like we're done. I think everyone comes to a time where they feel that way. And maybe we're just not big enough yet. I have unfinished business. And so for me, I can't imagine a situation anytime soon where, I'm sure, someone rich said, we'll give you $1 billion, but in my mind, I'm like, I'm so proud of what we're doing, and we're a fairly successful business, and we run a good company, and we're profitable. To me, I've got unfinished business, man. I'm not done. I'm sure there'll be a day where I feel like I'm done, but think about this. This is the first podcast we're doing. I'm several years behind. I need to do more of this kind of stuff. No, seriously. And I think there's categories we're not in. There's retailers we want to work with. I'm probably more excited about the opportunity we have now than I was when we got into our first chain retailers years ago. And I remember thinking back then, I can't believe we're going to get into a grocery store. I can't believe we're going to get into Gold's Gym nationally. Today I look at that and go, I'm so proud of that those were stepping stones to the next thing. And so I'm just proud of what our team has done and the steps we've taken to kind of grow up. But we've grown up on our own without having to have external forces. You can't do that. You can do this. Don't get into this category. You know what? I think we're going to make our own decisions for a little while. And so far, they've been pretty good decisions. But I'm just proud of what we're doing, and I'm not done yet.
Yeah, you should be. So when you say you're not done yet, and you mentioned the other categories, are there any glaring gaps that you're like, man, we really got to get into XYZ, or anything that you're willing to either tease or just pie in the sky that's way out there?
I'll tell you what. All right, I'll tease it here.
Okay.
VMI has 2 canned beverages in the works, 2 different categories, and neither one is an energy drink.
Oh, okay.
So I'll leave that to the provocative mind. But
you're going to calm people down with a calming one after all the KXR they've been taking all day?
No, it's not a calming beverage. But I'll tell you what, we're probably 90% down the way with both canned beverages. Both will be not only delicious, but one of them for sure will be very industry unique and special. And one of them will be something that is right up our alley. So we've got 2 beverages in a can in the works. It's a race to see which one is ready first. We did partner with one of the best R&D divisions of a company in the industry. We're super lucky to have their support. I'm not going to say who, but we are just so lucky. I don't think I ever thought we'd make a canned beverage. I don't think you realize you're going to do something until you do it, right? It's kind of wild, but we've got a good manufacturing partner. We've got a good R&D partner. And this will be game changing for our business and trajectory probably for the rest of our life. I think this is stuff I think we thought we would never do. So it's exciting. It's taken up a boatload of time, but I think as you kind of progress as a business, there's things you got to do, right? If I can tease anything, we're 2 canned beverages is the goalpost for this year. Hopefully Q2, maybe both of them. And I will say, at least one of them will roll out in 2 large chains the day it launches. So we've already got partnerships lined up, which is kind of exciting. And one of them may have a collab on it that we didn't announce yet. So
wow, okay. So you're tying in a lot of stuff into this. Yeah.
We're trying to, so without confusing the viewers and the listeners, we're trying to tie in a brand new collab with 2 new different beverages.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it's exciting. And PEZ will be a part of some of that as well. But this will be a bit, we don't, obviously we're in beverage today, right? We make a still non-carbonate. I guess the people that are watching, everyone knows our KXR comes in an RTD. Mm-hmm. This product probably is the most misunderstood product we have because it is High-Stim, but it also has all the pump. It's a glycerol, citrulline. The most robust formula we have is probably in the KXR RTD. But because we've been in beverage for a while, and we've been pretty good with it. And a lot of that beverage is in gyms, right? Because it's a pre-workout, not necessarily an energy drink, but we sell it in a lot of gyms. We do sell it in some alternative C-store business, and we're in some grocery with it. But I think we feel like we've got a pretty good handle on that because we used to do beverage distribution at Lone Star. So we're very excited about the can projects, but it's been a long process with R&D. Cans are a different animal. So.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to bring that up when we were talking about coming from distribution. Like I feel like back in the day, you must have sold a lot of ABB, all that Twin Lab and stuff.
It was interesting. We actually were not an authorized ABB distributor when I got to Lone Star. We were doing Metrex Worldwide, and that was always like a unique thing, right? We had Metrex Worldwide. These were the 2 big drink brands at the time, and Europa had ABB, and some of the regional distributors too. So it was like a competitive thing: who had which drinks and. But we all know them. We all sold them or drank them. And it was a very different business, if you guys do remember back then, but there were so many more drinks back then. So people feel like there's a lot of drinks today. I think what happens is you get 10 guys that want to make a pre-workout. Slowly some of that fades. Then you get 10 guys make a canned energy drink. Then 3 stick and some fade. And then 10 guys make a protein shake and 3 stick and 10 fade. There's not a lot of like exploration in our channel right now. But if you look back, Twin Lab had Ultra Fuel, Diet Fuel. I mean, there was multiple beverages. Twin Lab, ABB, Metrex, Worldwide. There was a lot of drinks in the cooler. And so we're trying to think back to, okay, because immediate consumption is everything, beverage is everything. Look at the growth in every category, a prebiotic soda, protein soda. We're not doing a protein soda. So for us, it's like, you know what? We know how big beverage can be just in the fitness space. And brands have kind of gotten away from it, right? If you think about Glanbia, they took ABB and they just closed it. Imagine having a brand doing $10, $15 million a year. No, this is serious numbers. $10, $15 million a year, and they just shut it down because it wasn't operationally margin efficient. This is from them. And to me, I look at that and go, oh my God, it's a whole business. You know what I mean? Like, and they just closed it. It just wasn't for them. And so I think big businesses like that look at it a little differently, right? NBTY owned Metrex worldwide for a number of years till it sold to private equity, and it's been sold multiple times since then. But they used to have so many drinks, and then NBTY started whittling it off and whittling it down. But there's room for other drinks if you know what you're making and you know how to distribute it. I think the problem is you have guys that try to make a Me Too drink. That's hard. And then you have guys that make a drink, and whether it's good or not, they don't know how to distribute it. Mm-hmm. And those are the roadblocks. Dude, if you get into beverage, you have to buy a lot, and it's got a clock on it. You got to sell it. And so people are like, oh, I made it and it tastes great. Okay, how are you going to distribute it? Drinks is a different animal. So because we have a little tiny bit of a handle on that, I think we're excited about it. And I think just gives us a bigger push into the immediate consumption space. So we're sort of in it with a little bit of beverage, but not enough. This is going to really grow our immediate consumption business in 26.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of bring that up because that's a huge difference. Like people who get into selling a product overall don't expect the added costs that come in, but then you start selling, you're basically selling really heavy water. You know, you can have all the ingredients in there all you want, but you're really spending money on the cost of moving water. And it's expensive. 100%. You have to pay for a lot of the slotting in refrigerators. People don't realize this coming in. Like there's so many costs. And if you're not budgeted for that, you won't.
That doesn't include damages because drinks are more likely to get damaged, especially in a can versus dry goods. Yeah, these are things people don't know, right? So I think the interesting thing is immediate consumption is so big now, people are almost willing to pay anything. People are charging $6, $7 for a core power at a C-store. So I think there's probably a higher threshold for the end consumer today in immediate consumption versus dry goods, which is great, right? Allows you a little bit more room to kind of play with those things. But we just know we have existing demand of people that we already work with, distributors and retailers. Hey, are you going to get into this category? Hey, are you going to get into this? Do you have more beverage coming? So we probably sat on our hands last year looking at it saying, let's do the R&D. Let's align on the right drinks. And I think drinks is a better path for us than snacks right now. We just already sell drinks. We already know beverage. So as much as I don't want to ship water, I think we have a path to two pretty exciting things. And listen, we'll launch those with you guys. We'll make a big deal about it when I can release that stuff. But we are desperately trying to keep it under wraps. I have not even given all the details to my team yet. We're just trying to keep it super under wraps. It's hard to do. I don't know how Ghost does it with under wraps and then they leak it. They're real good at it. But yeah, we're excited. This is going to gets us into cans, gets us into other categories, gets us into beverage and immediate consumption. So super fun stuff. And I think you guys will actually appreciate it. It'll be stuff up our alley.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm like thinking about what is it going to be.
You're going to be texting me 5 ideas later. Yeah.
No,
I'm not going to tell you, but it's not a protein soda. I'll tell you that.
That one definitely threw off everyone. I bet. I think everyone listening was like, "Oh, it's got to be a protein soda." So it's not protein soda. It's not an energy drink, and it's not calming or you know.
Yeah, I won't say no to anything else, but those three, it is not.
That's great.
True.
Interesting.
Doesn't mean I'll never have an energy drink. Just means not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
You're like you said, your KXR, the KXR RTD. I think it's hilarious because if you drink that whole thing, you're going to get full 400 milligram yield of caffeine, 1.5, I think, of alpha yo, and then of course they have the glycerol, citrulline, so
Hydromax, glycerol, citrulline, taurine. I mean, it's loaded, right?
It is,
and it's a little different than some of the powder formulas. None of the formulas are exactly the same. But when we made the drink, we have a good partner on the drinks. We said, you know what? We can't just make the OG powder. We've got to go one more step. Mm-hmm. And from an affordability stack, we were actually able to do that because people are willing to pay more for an immediate consumption product. So that's a product I would say if I look at the competitive marketplace, I would put our RTD up against anybody any day of the week. And it's hard to do that in some categories because it's like products are so different. But if you go to a gym cooler and I'd compare us to any drink in the cooler, and I'd go toe to toe with anybody with that product. Yeah.
So do you know, is anyone, one serving is half a bottle. Is anyone actually drinking half a bottle or everyone just getting smashed?
You know what? That is a good question. We have gotten that a lot from some of the chain gyms. We're in a lot of Crunch chains because there's a lot of franchise chains. And Crunch has a good proportion of women. So we do get asked a lot by some of the managers, hey, it's resealable, right? They can have the other half, doesn't have to be refrigerated. And that is true. So there is a demographic that will take half and reseal it, which is why we love having a plastic bottle and not a can. I would say your general, consumer, me and Ben are taking a full one. I don't think in good conscience as a former former bodybuilder wannabe and 20 years in the industry. I can't imagine drinking half and putting it back in the fridge. So
yeah, I see this PEZ flavor. I'm like, there's no way I'm drinking half like this.
Yeah. No. It's And listen, you know what? Again, same 3-time release or different release caffeines. That one's been a great one for us too. You're always going to get people that say it's not strong enough. You're always going to, depending on the product, and then you get people say it's too strong. The reality is, we knew we had a demographic for high-stim people with the powder. So when we made it in the beverage, listen, we are going to be the strongest drink in the beverage, which is not for everybody, but there's clearly a space for us. So yeah, beverage is going to be big for us next year or this year.
Very cool.
Exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot more. I'm not sure if Ben has any other questions or anything.
This has been really
we covered a lot.
Yeah, this has been
great.
Yeah.
I'm sure that
I appreciate you guys. I'm so proud of you guys. You guys have just made massive strides, man. I'm just happy to still know you guys and still get to chat, man. You guys, I feel like I've watched other podcasts and that you guys have done with other people that I know in the industry, but I'm super proud of you guys and it's fun to be on.
Yeah, this has been good. I think you've kind of shown that, like, I mentioned the whole mentor thing and everything, but you've kind of, you've dropped a lot of nuggets here that are maybe just like already in your brain, and it's just like a default mode for you. But there's been a couple of things where I'm like, oh, listeners are going to really love that, and they're going to be thinking on some of the stuff you said for days, because
thank you.
They haven't seen what you've seen, you know?
Yeah, you know what? I hope so. I hope in some way it helps somebody. Obviously, listen, you want to advance the brand and the community we've tried to build, and you want people to be aware and try your stuff. But at the end of the day, we're all in the same business. And I think you said this earlier in the podcast, but listen, you got to band together with the good guys to progress things forward. And if we're all passionate about the business, and we're all consumers, right, in different products, I think you have to kind of align with the good guys and say, okay, well, here's how we're helping move the ball forward. These people are ingredient gurus. These guys are manufacturing gurus. These guys are pushing the MPA. And we're trying to do what we can from a brand perspective to be consistent with quality and messaging that, hey, listen, you can get really good products at a reasonable price that are good. And so, yeah, listen, I try to do that. And I think there's not enough of that in our business where guys are working together. So I do my best to be a part of that. And I'm happy to work with you guys on it too. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been great to like kind of grow alongside you guys and kind of watch. I mean, everyone has their own path in this industry. You know, you talk about people who go exclusive at different retailers, some people who go FDM. I like the regional grocery game that you guys are playing because you can get close with those category managers and you don't get lost in the sauce of all of the mainstream stuff. So it's been really cool to see you guys move. And also just as a, tri-stater over here. I'm not a New Yorker, but
you got to come up to the new office. I've been trying to get you up here.
I will drive up there. I'll come see you guys. I hate that drive.
I'm actually in the new podcast room now.
Yeah, looks good. Maybe
additional warehouse space, pretty big room. So yeah, I'd love to have you guys.
Maybe for the launch of the new stuff that you're talking about, that could be a good trip for Ben. I'm just volunteering him for the drive. I know it's not always the easiest to get up into the city. So I'm not. Where exactly are you at?
We're actually on Long Island, so he kind of zipped through the city if he goes through the tunnel and come right back out. So he wouldn't be driving through Manhattan really. So I don't think it's terrible. And I think I've told Ben this. He knows this, but if he's leaving mid morning and if he just works around traffic, it's not terrible on a weekday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to do it, and I'd love him to see the new space and stuff. But we're just super proud of the strides we made, and like Ben said, we've kind of mirrored each other, growing as businesses in the industry. So it's fun to still get to work together, but it's also fun to kind of see each other grow and do different things. So
yeah,
I'm ready. As soon as the cans are ready, we're coming up.
Hit us up.
Awesome. There we go. So you've mentioned LinkedIn. The best way to find you, all the social media handles. Are you most active on LinkedIn professionally?
You know what? Instagram and LinkedIn are probably my two most. I mean, if you're looking to catch VMI, it's at VMI Sports on all handles. It's at VMI Sports on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and I'm just Tom at VMI Sports on Instagram and Tom Reilly on LinkedIn. So I mean, it depends on what platform the listeners are using, and I'm sure a lot of the professional guys probably already know me on LinkedIn, but. Instagram's obviously, I think everyone's kind of mainstay, at least for our age group, right?
Yeah, for better or for worse, as you said.
For better or worse, yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so, and I'm not sure if Spencer hooked up with Perfect Shaker, if you have a VMI Sports branded shaker. There it is. Oh, show it up.
I was so excited
that looks awesome.
Yeah, it is. And I actually saw a Perfect Shaker out at the KE distributor show last week, and they had made us one with VMI. And I think they were pretty excited for me to get back and see this. So I got back. And first package waiting on my desk. I was so excited. So thank you guys very much. I actually told Spencer I'm not going to drink out of this. It's going to go. I have a cabinet in my office of all the cool stuff over the years.
No way.
So yeah. You know what? To me,
I'm not a guy who keeps show badges or, you know, I used to do that. I think everyone's got like their own unique thing. To me, I don't want to call it a memorabilia thing, but stuff that's a reminder, whether it's a picture I frame or, you know, maybe it's a picture of me and Ben doing a podcast. I try and have a wall of stuff where the stuff I appreciate through the years, not necessarily accolades, but whether it's a charity we donated to or something cool like this. I feel like that those are the memories that I'm like, man, you know what? That was a fun experience that I'll remember and take with me. So I'm not going to drink out of this. This is going on the wall in my office, which Ben will see when he comes up for the drink.
Can't wait.
That's right. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much.
You
and thanks to Perfect Shaker for handling that and making that our gift or their gift to you together.
Yeah.
And
thank you, Perfect Shaker, and thank you guys. And thanks, Spencer, for me as well. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully do again soon.
Yeah,
absolutely. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, guys.